things, including the declension, the gender, the number, so on and so forth, and all of those are very important when it comes to understanding and distinguishing the noun in Greek grammar. We examined rather closely, I think, at least for our introductory course here, the different genders of the noun, and we find that there is a masculine, a feminine, and a neuter. We examined, I think, rather well the masculine form in all three of the declensions, the first, second, and third declension, and we looked briefly also at the feminine gender. Now, just for a moment, I'd like for us to also now to examine the neuter gender of the noun. Now, let me refresh our memories again. If you recall, tell me what this article is. Is it masculine, feminine, or neuter? And this article, is it masculine, feminine, or neuter? This is the article O. This is the article E. This is the article to. This is the neuter article for a neuter noun. Now, let's take a noun if we can, and we'll go through it and take it through all of its cases, and so that you can see how it, as well as the masculine and the feminine, is used. We know now that we are in the neuter, so we are using the neuter article. This is in the nominative case, neuter singular. This side will have the singular, and then after the plural. We're going to use the noun doro. Okay, to doron. This is the masculine, as I said, the singular. Now we're going to come to the possessive and the ablative. We have two forms. We have one form, but we have two distinctions here. I'll only put the one form up. We see doro. If you'll notice here, like in the other articles, the article often resembles the end of the noun. Here we have tu and we have doro. You can see here the similarity. So when you begin to correlate these two similarities in your mind, it then becomes a great deal easier for the article to match the noun and the noun to be matched with the correct article. The next form is this here, to, with our little iota script on the bottom, and the word then takes this appearance here, ton. And for our last, it is the accusative case, to, and the form of the word looks like this, ton. If you'll notice here, the accusative is in the same form as the nominative in the, I want to say ουδέτερο, in the, somebody help me here, in the neuter case, that's what it is. All right, let's move over now to the plural, if we may, and see how it changes over. Now, this is the article singular to, neuter article. This to in the plural now becomes ta, and the doron becomes dora. Okay? We see the second form is going to be to, here, or tu, I should say, there, tu. This is the genitive case, and now in the genitive case in the plural, it becomes ton. Ton, doron. Okay? Now notice something, if you will. When we get to this genitive plural, both or all three of the genders take the same article. It takes the ton, ti or taf, omicron, ni. In all three genders, the same article will be used, only in this case here. Now let's continue on. We're going to move from the singular now to the plural, from to tis. Tis, doris. Okay? Tis, doris. And then our last case is going to be the accusative in the plural, and it goes from to ta, dora. Okay? Again, the accusative and the nominative case in the neuter is the same. At this time, let's take a few examples and begin to build some short, simple sentences that we might see how all of this works together that we have been looking at thus far. And I think if you'll take the time to look at these as I explain them to you, hopefully you can see all of these integral tools being put together and all the pieces coming together in order to give us some tools of understanding. Let's take the sentence, the man knows the law. Okay? Now you watch and follow along. I'm going to put it on the board, then we're going to go back and examine the sentence and take it apart as much as we can and see what we can learn about this sentence. O anthropos ginoski. O anthropos ginoski. Ton nomon. O anthropos ginoski ton nomon. Let's begin first of all with the verb. This is where we always begin when we start taking something apart. The verb is ginosko. The verb, tell you what, better, let's put this verb in the present active instead of putting it in the past. Ginoski. Okay? We'll just go ahead and leave it the way we had it. He knew the law. O anthropos, he knew the law. Now watch. We have the article here. We have the subject here. We have the verb. And then we have that which was known. That which received the action. We begin here with the verb ginosko. Ginosko. It means he knows. How do we know it means he knows? Well, let's go back to the verb and remember our person and all the things that we learned about this verb. First of all, we want to divide this verb and find out the root is ginosko or ginosk. Then we have here the end of our root word e. We know from studying our declension of the verb that the verb goes down o, I, is, you, e, he. So we know now that the verb is in the third person singular, present active indicative. And the mood is active, of course. Now we ask ourselves a question, who knows? Well, we come back over here and we find out the man knows. Now we know that this is singular because it's e. Plural would be different. Since it is singular, it must be a singular noun here. How do we know this is a singular noun? Well, two indications we have, or two proofs that it is singular. First of all, the end of this noun is os. Os is the second declension. It is the singular ending, or the singular form of the declension. And then, second, we have the adjective, or the article. Now, the article is the easiest way to tell what the word is, whether it be plural, whether it be what case it's in, whether it be singular or whatever, or masculine or feminine or neuter. In this case, we know that someone knows. Who is the someone? It is a singular someone, so therefore our subject must be singular. Now, for instance, could we say, now let's change this article from the singular to the plural. Ianthropy, ginoski ton nomo. Can we say this? No. Because what we have now done, we have changed the number. We have a singular third person verb, and we're trying to put with it a nominative case plural noun. It won't work. because the subject must always agree in number with our verb. So therefore we can only say, the man, he knows the law. Now, we ask our next question, what does the man know? According to our text here, the man, he knows the law. Now, the law is in the what we call accusative case. Now, this is ton, T-O-N, or T-omicron ni. And remember how this thing goes down? Nomos is law. We come down, we have the genitive case, we have the dative case, so on and so forth. We come down to the accusative case. And this is a masculine singular. So the masculine singular is going to be ton nomon. Here we see it. We know from this article here, ton, and the end of it here, we know that we now have the accusative case. Now the accusative case is not going to be the subject, it's not going to be the action, but it's what is receiving or what is following the action. What does he know? He knows the law. So we see here that Greek is a very structured language, very simple to learn if you simply let it or simply follow the rules that guide you in the structure of the language. Let's look at another illustration. The slave or the servant, he brings the gift. Okay, the servant, o doulos, feri, ton doron. Okay? O doulos feri to doron. Again, we find the verb. The verb is a word here that you have not yet heard, you're not familiar with. The verb is fero. Okay, fero means bring. So we look at the verb, and the first thing we do is find out if it's singular or plural and what person it's in. So we know that it is in the third person because of this here. We know because of this here, it is now singular. So, let's do something to help us see better here. Let's make this plural instead of singular. Now, we have a singular noun and a plural noun. Could this, perhaps, this verb here, could it be referring to this plural noun? And if not, why not? Primarily because we know that this verb is singular and it is third person. But the singular number is what we're looking at. So therefore we have here a noun that is not in the singular but it is in the plural, and we know that according to the article ta. Therefore, ta, dora, cannot correspond with feri. Feri, singular, third person. Therefore, we must find a subject that will agree with this third person singular. We come here and we find, first of all, a subject, doulos, and we see by the article, as well as by the ending in this case, that it is singular and it is nominative case. Therefore, since it is singular and since it is nominative case, it can be, and in this case it is, the subject which is acting. Feri. Who feris? He, she, or it must feri, or bring. Therefore, the subject we have here is doulos. O doulos feri ta dora. The servant, he brings the gifts. Well, let's try one more, and then we'll move on to something else. The unique thing about Greek is the more you play with it and the more you use it, the more fun it can become. If you never practice and you never use what little you do know, then when you try to use it, you become frustrated and aggravated, and soon you're ready to quit because you've convinced yourself you cannot learn. At the University of Athens, I became like that. I was frustrated, and I couldn't learn the language. I convinced myself that there was no way. And I went to one of my professors one day, and she was a very adamant woman. Her politics was very communistic. And since I was a Westerner, she didn't really appreciate me, you can understand. And I went to her one day, and I said, there is no way I can learn this language. And she looked at me with a snarl on her face, and she said, I guess you can't, because you don't try. What do you mean, I asked. She said, do you know the word for and? A-N-D? I said, of course. It's ke. She said, when you speak, you continue to say an instead of ke. You don't try to use the little you do know. Therefore, you'll never learn or progress any further. And it taught me something. You may not know much, but if you don't use the little you know, you can't complain because you don't have more. So as you begin to use what little you have learned, use it correctly, use it rightly, and then you'll be able to build upon that. Let's look at one more, if you will. Let's look at the sentence, Βλέπουμε τους οίκους των όχλων. We see the houses of the crowds or of the multitude. Now, it looks like this. Βλέπουμε τους οίκους των όχλων. Των όχλων. Okay? Now, another unique thing about Greek is our sentence structure has no definite structure. Although with usage you do fall into a particular way of phrasing things. But unlike English, and I think I made reference to this in one of the previous lessons, we can rearrange this sentence any way we wish, and it's going to come out the same. For instance, in English, we say the wolf chased the boy. But we can change the order of the sentence and say the boy chased the wolf. And we've changed the entire meaning of the sentence. In Greek, you cannot do that. For instance, we see βλέπουμε τους οίκους των όχλων. Well, we see the houses of the multitude. We could say των όχλων τους οίκους βλέπουμε. Of the multitudes, the houses we see. It all comes out the same. Now, let's take just a moment and take this sentence apart and see what we can learn about it. We first of all find the verb, as always. Here's the verb. There's the root. Here is the ending. Ume. Βλέπουμε. We see. We see what? We see the houses. Now, this here is plural, not singular. We see. We don't know who it is other than simply we, but we know that the plural is now seeing. What do they see? Tous. How do we know it's going to be plural? Because this is a masculine subject having a masculine article. And in this case, again, this article is in agreement with the end of the subject. So it becomes very easy to remember. Tous oikos, the houses, the dwelling places. And then we say, but the houses of whom? Whom, or who lives in the houses? It's the houses of, and here this article is, it's the plural article, but it is also in the genitive case, the possessive case, if you will. It is the houses of the crowd or the multitudes, if you will. So again, we've started with the verb. We have found the action here. The action is seeing. Who is seeing? We are seeing, because it is in the plural first person. What are we seeing? We are seeing houses. We are seeing plural houses, if you will. Many houses. This is plural. And the houses of who? The houses of the multitude here. So, using these simple sentences, we can see the structure of Greek, the grammar of it, and how it can be used to help us better understand and further our education in the Greek language. Now, as I said, don't become discouraged and quit because you don't grasp everything the first time. My teacher would tell me at the university, repetition is the mother of all learning. What you did not learn today, you will simply do again tomorrow until you learn it well. Now let's move on from the neuter nouns and from the practice that we've just had, and let's look at the first declension nouns just for a moment. The first declension nouns have nouns that end with E, such as agape that we've already looked at. And the first declension noun also contains nouns that end with a. Now both E and a are feminine. Feminine nouns. Let's give an illustration. Agape. Agape, the ending is ita. It's feminine. Let's look at another one. Basilia. Basilia, here it is. Again, it ends with alpha. So in this first declension of nouns, we have those nouns that end with eta and alpha. These are feminine nouns. We have also masculine nouns in the first declension that end with these endings, is, as well as as. Okay? We can say o mathitis. O mathitis. And we can say o anthropos. Or o andros, Here it is, the ending. Correlates with this one, and this one with this one. So in this first declension of nouns, we see that there is a different category of endings. And when we begin to connect the articles with these things, also the endings will change. Now in this category, the endings don't always match the articles as it did in the second declension of nouns. But anyway, let's move on now, and let's go and look at something else. Let's examine, if we could, I think something that is unique, the definite articles. Well, let's move on to something else. Let's move on to prepositions. In Greek, the preposition is very useful, very exact, and it works much like our preposition. When I was in grade school, in the grammar class, I was taught this: a preposition is anything a squirrel can do with a tree. The squirrel can run by the tree, up the tree, down the tree, around the tree, through the tree, in the tree, with the tree, at the tree, so on and so forth. But in Greek, the preposition even takes more bloom, if you will. Now let me share some things with you. I have a graph here. You can't see it, but let me put it on the board, if I may. We're going to do it like this. We'll start with a circle. Now we understand what a preposition is. We're going to have a line like this, one like this, one like this. We're going to have one like this, one like this, and here. As well as here. We have one in here, and here, and here. And then one here. Now, this is a diagram for prepositions. Now, our prepositions are these. This is pointing up, this is pointing down, and this way, and this is something that's inward. We have here our top line, and we will put hyper. Hyper. Epi. Hyper. Hyper means for the sake of. Epi means on. This line is laying on the circle here. Here, the one pointing up is ana, which means above. Okay, we come here to this line, and we have pros. Pros, which means toward. The next line, is, which means to, at, in. This line is dia, which means basically for and by. This line on the bottom is ipo, which means under. This line is under, of course. This line going down is kata, which means down. Okay, come to this side, or let's go back to the center of our diagram if we can, and we have here the preposition an, which means in, for it is inside the circle. This one going down we will call para. Para means by. This line is by this sphere, if you will. This one here is called apo, means it's from. You see here, we're leaving from that circle. This next one is called ek. And there is also another one looks like this, used sometimes. This is ek, which means out of. This ek, we're coming out of this circle or this sphere. Let me take just a moment and see if I can bring some meaning to all of this using this diagram. We begin first of all with this one up here, ano. We say in Greek, the room is anokato. The word ano means up and kato means down. It's upside down. It's in ruins. It's in total chaos. We say, or Jesus said in the Gospel of John to Nicodemus, that you must be born anotha. Anotha. The word looks like this. Anotha, which means from above. We see here at the beginning of anotha the preposition an. Since it is connected with the other part of the word, the A has been dropped, but we can see the relation here with ana and anothan. So it means that which is up. Hyper means for the sake of. For instance, in the churches in Greece, they have their collection boxes usually on the back of the wall of the church houses. And there will be a sign on the box which will say something like this, and they understand that it is a money box. It will say something like this, hyper tis ecclesias, for the sake of the church. So this is a preposition, for the sake of. The next one, epi, means epano, means on. It means on top of. Epi. Epi, the boy put something, epi, on something else. He put it on top of. So, we come down here to the next one, pros. Pros means toward or to. If you're waiting on a bus in Athens, there will be signs which will say bus stop, and then it will tell you where this particular bus will go to. It will look something like this. The sign will be here, and it will say the bus number, this, that, or the other, and then it says pros Athena, means toward Athens. This bus will be moving toward Athens. The next preposition is is. Is means it is moving into, and I should make this a little bit more clear here. It's moving into the sphere. He is going east to Kilindro. He is going into the cylinder. He is going east to Damatio. He is going in the room. So east. We have dia. It is by. And in this instance, we can see that the line simply goes straight across as if it circumvents it, if you will. He goes by it. Here we have ipo. Ipo is under. There is an interesting word in the Greek called patience. In your English, you say. It looks like this. Ipomoni. You can see here the ipo. We don't have time to give you an etymology of the word, but it's a very precious word. Study it sometimes on your own. However, ipo means under, and we see here it is under the circle. And then we have the kata. Sometimes it is kato. And very quickly, we see the pros, apo. We go toward and we go from. We go in and we go out. These are the opposites one of the other. Okay, we will finish our lesson here, and we will pick up in the next lesson and continue with our introduction to Greek. In this segment of New Testament Greek introduction, we want to take a look at the adjective. We've already examined briefly the rima, the Greek verb, the ousiastiko, the Greek noun, and now a third and very important part of